Wonderful. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. And thank you for joining us today. My name is Holly McChris, and I am a coordinator for the California Library Association and the facilitator for the California Library Association Spring Fling Fall Edition programming. And we are honored to have this iRead webinar as part of our weeks of programming. It is my pleasure to introduce Trish Garone, who's the programs manager for the Summer at Your Library. Trish, I hand the baton to you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Well, thanks everybody. I'm a member of CLA's Summer at Your Library team, and we are so happy you're joining us today. Welcome to the Summer at Your Library iRead Programming Showcase. There is so much content today and so little time, so I'm going to try and make my portion very quick. So just a little bit of project background. The Summer at Your Library project is a program of CLA supported in whole or in part by the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services under the provisions of the Library Services and Technology Act, and is administered in California by the state librarian. Whew, okay. The Summer at Your Library project partners with iRead Illinois and provides the iRead resource guide free of charge to all interested California libraries. In California, the Summer at Your Library Program Committee, a team of amazing California librarians, works year-round with colleagues in Illinois to develop resource guide content and themes. And this really ensures that the guide stays relevant to California's diverse communities. A huge, huge thank you to all of the California committee members for their work. I'm just going to name them in alphabetical order super quickly. Judy Cunningham, Lisa Furno-Haynes, the 2022 Resource Guide Coordinator, Rhea Gardner, Tony Jenkins, Nicole King, the incoming chair and 2021 Guide Coordinator, Rachel Lopez, the 2020 chair, Charmaine Mendez, and Edwin Rodarte. We also have on the call today Jill Donovan and Becca Bolin from Illinois. Thank you so much for all your good work. And just a little bit of housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you. For questions for the panelists, please be sure to use the Q&A feature. Presenters will respond to questions at the conclusion of all of the presentations, so at the very end. But again, please feel free to use the chat to share resources, thoughts, comments, conversations. But again, for questions for presenters, please be sure to put those in the Q&A. So at this point, I'm going to hand things over to the program committee, and to start things off, we're going to hear from the 2020 committee chair, Rachel Lopez. So take it away, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish. All righty. Well, my name is Rachel Lopez, and I am a youth services librarian at the Ontario City Library. And let's get started. Okay, next slide, please. All right, go ahead and skip that one too. Thank you. So with most library buildings closed to the public for the majority of the summer of 2020, California library staff had to quickly adapt and reinvent what summer programming looked like, and y'all killed it. Though not all libraries offered summer programming, many did, and CLA is still in the process of collecting statistics. So the following numbers will definitely grow. But let's take a quick look at summer 2020. Next slide, please. So the impact of the pandemic on SRP signups, as you can definitely see, it went 2016 to over 800,000 signups to 2020 with a little over 200,000 signups. Next slide. And adapting to the pandemic, many libraries created this take-home kit idea, and library across California mobilized to create take-home activities and kits, and 339,597 kits were assembled and distributed to children, teens, and adults. That's amazing. And a little over 300,000 of these were offered at off-site pop-up locations, which really just goes to show our expertise in outreaching has really paid off. Our partners pulled their resources together to provide programming and services to our community, and this, in my opinion, was magical. Next slide, please. So here are just some great ideas that people sent in. There were STEAM kits and activities such as placemat making and how to make your own kinetic sand and puzzles and glitter glue. So many wonderful things across the board for little ones all the way to adults. And I know that's been one of our most popular programs since the pandemic hit. Next slide, please. So adapting to the pandemic, you all did a lot of book giveaways. So over 142,000 new books were given away by libraries, and almost 100,000 were offered at these offsite pop-up locations, and about 42,000 were at on-site library locations. Next slide. So virtual programming. I know many of you right off the bat within a week started launching your amazing virtual programs, and just gathering all the statistics, like 11,296 virtual programs were offered by California libraries with over 1 million views. That's incredible. Next slide. So meal distribution, even though we were in the middle of the pandemic, Lunch at Your Library was still happening. So as you can see, last year we had about 219 on meal distribution sites. This year it was cut more than half, so to 95. But if you look at the number of meals distributed, it rose. It went up to about 1,000-ish, but that's incredible. So we had less on-site distribution sites, but we provided more meals to people. Next slide. So this was a question that we asked many people that attended a lot of our virtual workshops. Would you consider your 2020 summer reading and learning program a success given the circumstances? And yes, you know, success is measured in so many different ways. And just because we weren't open like normally, we still had a very successful 2020 summer reading program. Next slide. So, although we don't know what summer 2021 will look like quite yet, in today's presentation, we really hope to provide you with ideas that cover all the different contingencies so that you can be ready for whatever summer 2021 brings. And let's take a look forward at summer 2021's I Read theme, Reading Colors Your World. But before that, I just want to say, I mean it from the bottom of my heart, you all were amazing this summer. Within days, so many of you and your library sprung into action and created online content and services for your patrons across California. You all helped create a summer full of unconventional but pretty incredible programs and services, and these stats are a testament to that. And I'm really, really honored to be with all of you here today. You've all taught me so much about the power that we have as library professionals as we continue to be inclusive, be empathetic, and be dang creative. So thank you so much. And now, speaking of being amazing, I am so pleased to introduce Jill Donovan and Becca Bolin from iRead.
Hi, Becca, you there?
You know it. I'm here, Joe.
Yay. Becca is our, I'm going to change this slide. Sorry. Next slide, please. Becca is our 2022 chair for her theme, which will be Read Beyond the Beaten Path. And we'll have some information about that later. But right now we're going to talk a little bit about the artists for Reading Colors Your World. Next slide, please. We have Oliver Jeffers of The Day the Crayons Quit, Yuji Morales from, oh shoot, I should have kept a little list. She's got a lot of books. You must know some of them.
Dreamers. She has a ton of picture books.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the one with the little boy in his underpants, and he's a lucha libre star in his own mind, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's really great.
Nino Wrestles the World.
That's the one. Thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And Zach Lerner, who is relatively new, but he's been doing some middle school graphic novel books, and Hervé Toulet, which you've seen some of his art already, and he was great to work with. Next slide, please.
So I put together, this year we're offering badges. So I put together these slides to show the poster and the spot art in the as it's been interpreted as badges. So you'll be getting badges for each of 4 age groups. And these are some of the pre-K badges that will be on Zubeen and other Read Squared and other online organizations, but you'll also have them to use within your library. They're going to be on the resource guide flash drive this year. So this is Oliver Jeffers. Next slide, please. And this is Juji. Juji, she did some beautiful stuff for us, and I think you'll all be really excited about it. Next slide, please. Zach Leonard, he decided to go with an ocean theme and have somebody, reading about the oceans and imagining it at the same time. And his spot art follows along very nicely. Next slide, please. And Hervé Toulet, I'm sorry, Hervé Toulet, I've been corrected. You'll see in our next slide that a lot of the variation that he offered us, but we used a simpler piece of his work to do the badges. So next slide, please, and take it away, Becca.
So I'm gonna talk for just a second, and then I'm gonna be quiet so that we can show you this really cool PSA. So this is the PSA that's available to everybody. You can use it through social media. If you do have a library that is open in some capacity and you have the ability to show film on like a monitor when you walk in the door or in your children's department or whatever, however you want to use it, it's totally up to you. So I'm going to be quiet so you guys can hear this really great PSA, and I'm very biased.
What are those?
What do they look like?
They look like eyes, or maybe donuts. Ooh, what's that?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it looks like a celebration. I think those are fireworks.
Beautiful.
That looks like a trail of jelly beans.
I wonder where they lead. Maybe to the library? What do you see? How does reading color your world? Join the library for a celebration of reading, programs, and all things colorful.
So that's a little PSA. It is my voice as well as my 8-year-old who helped me with that. So we hope that you're able to make use of something like that to help get the word out, especially at this time when we don't have as much of the face-to-face contact with our patrons as we would like. Next slide, please. So one thing that I like to remind people, and we do this at the Illinois Library Association discussions as well, is that part of the wonderful thing about iRead is that it supports you. It supports your library association. A portion of the proceeds from everything goes right back into your state. And so we want to make sure that you know that your support and the contributions and using this product and its success is your success. And obviously that's the case, but it's a financial success as well. And we all know that in these difficult times, it always helps to have a little bit of an extra boost towards your association and making libraries better and stronger. So next slide, please. And part of how you can do that, of course, is to go to the iRead catalog and look at some of the great incentives that we have. Jill. So we have all kinds of great t-shirts. It can be stuff that you give away to patrons as prizes. It can be things that staff wears. There's mugs, there's finger puppets. There's always some sort of a plush option so that if you wanted to use that in story times or as part of your decorations, you can definitely do that. The little coin that you see is part of we also partner with the Department of Defense. So iRead is used in every base library throughout the world. So we are an international sensation. And so that's something that we developed for them, but it's certainly something that you're welcome to use as well if it works for your summer reading program.
If I could,
There's always bookmarks, there's always logs. If you're not in a position where you can create your own reading logs and you'd like to use the ones that iRead provides, you're more than welcome to do that. There's always pencils and bookmarks and all of that other good stuff too. Jill, what do you have?
well, I want to correct one thing I should have told you yesterday. That round enamel item is not the challenge coin for the DoD this year.
Oh,
It's a lapel pin.
oh, that's even
it's in-
cooler. Okay,
it-
well, we also have the coins for the DoD. So if you didn't know that we work with the DoD, we do, but we also have a lapel pin. So
Right.
if you wear fancy stance and you wear a blazer to work, you can still color your world that way. All
Right.
right, what do you have?
It's in English and Spanish, and it's listed in the teen section, but it's good for everybody. And then the other thing that we're offering are these rubber chickens, which squawk. And in the resource guide this year, there is a program about how to run rubber chicken karaoke. And we're trying to work out how we can put them up and maybe have a little contest from library to library.
The chair for 2021, Alex Annan, she said that her family just tried out rubber chicken karaoke over the weekend just for fun. And they had a blast and they were just rolling because they were having so much fun and it was so silly. And we've been asked, why is there a rubber chicken? And the answer is 100% because Alex thinks it's hilarious. And so far people are on board. So we hope to get you on board the rubber chicken train. I don't know, as well. Next slide, please. So 2022, I am the chair of the 2022 iRead program. The theme that we have chosen is Read Beyond the Beaten Path. It's a camp theme. But when we were thinking camp, we didn't want it to just be like tents and fires and s'mores and that sort of thing, because camp can be so many different things. It can be space camp, it can be art camp, it can be theater camp, it can be coding camp, it can be just about anything that you want to do in your library, you know, can kind of fit into a camp theme. And so we wanted to make it sure that it's really broad, that it has a lot of appeal for STEM programming. And, you know, there's a lot of corresponding books and literature that you can tie into this theme as well. And with people making an effort to step away from screens and spend more time outside, we just obviously we had no idea that this was coming. Hopefully by 2022, it's not going to be the same library experience as it was before, but hopefully people will have, you know, worked a lot of outdoor time into their summer experience, and that will tie in nicely with the theme as well. Next slide, please. And we have some wonderful artists. We are so very excited for the lineup. We've seen a lot of the art already, and it is just so gorgeous. I can't wait for you all to see it. Dave Pilkey, apparently both are fine and correct, is sharing his dragon character with us. There's a lot of really sweet pictures of dragon reading with a gaggle of kittens. And so we're excited to have him on board. He was really eager to be part of this program. And so we're eager to work with him. Jessica Gibson, this book, Time to Roar, is like, the cover shows you a little bit of what she is capable of in terms of her art, but I highly recommend go to her website, jessicamgibson.com, and look at some of the illustrations she's done. There's one in particular of a little girl walking across a log with some little woodland friends and kind of whistling and enjoying her time outside, that just totally sold her as an artist to me for this particular theme. And her stuff is just gorgeous. And we started to get some of her spot art in, and it's really lovely and super charming. Kayla Miller has this graphic novel, Camp. They just had one called Act, which is a political graphic novel for the 2020 election series. And so if you have fans of graphic novels, they probably know Kayla Miller's work. And the work that they have done for for our teens it was the first art that we saw, and it like just filled me with so much joy. It is a beautiful scene of camp and all of these teens like doing kind of all of the things that I talked about that camp could be earlier. And it's just really great. They're fabulous. So and then Christina, who is known as Steens, through their work or through her work, and the graphic novel that she's illustrated is called, I believe, Archival Quality. Is that it, Jill?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has a library theme to it. So she is no stranger to all things library. I have to say, when we got her art, it is a bunch of people inside the library, all very close to each other, signing up for summer reading. And the sight of it made me a little bit anxious, but I am confident that by 2022, we will be good to go. And if not, I'm sure that she will be amenable to adjusting the art to reflect our current situation.
I've already made arrangements with her to add masks, so we'll have one of each. So through 2021, we can use the one with masks to promote, unless, you know, things change radically, and then we can bring out the other one.
Yeah, so, you know, we're all being flexible together. Next slide, please. So the 2023 chair, if you can believe it, we're already thinking about that. Her name is Donna Block, and she has chosen the theme of voice. And currently we are voting for what the title of the overall summer theme is going to be. Here are just a couple of them: Strengthen Your Voice Read, Find Your Voice Through Reading, I Am a Reader, Hear Me Roar, Create Your Story at the Library. You'll see a QR code there. You can just capture it really quickly with your camera. We have a little Padlet where you can vote your voice counts, and you can share what theme you think would work best for you and your libraries in terms of voice and using your voice and speaking out and strengthening the voice that you have. So that is the direction we're headed for 2023. And we would love to have your input on that. So next slide, please. If you have any questions or you need anything, you can write to us at iread@ila.org. We are currently, I can't remember if it's on the next slide or not, but we are taking submissions for 2022's resource guide. And as it was mentioned earlier, like, it is really, really important to us that we have strong representation from California. We know that you guys are a huge state. And so I know that you have a wealth of ideas that would appeal to everyone internationally. So please, please, please go to the iRead website. There's a form there where you can submit ideas for bibliographies, for decorations, for programming. If it's programming that can be done virtually or as kind of a make and take or a passive programming, make sure you include that in your description so that we can call that out in the resource guide. So in the future, people can find those kind of ideas quickly. And I think that's everything from us. Is that right, Jill?
Yeah, and next up for early childhood is Rachel.
Yay!
All righty, it's me again. Okay, I have 8 minutes to talk to you about early learning ideas, and I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna set my timer because I could talk for days on this. All right, next slide, please. So some colorful object displays that you can do in-house the first one is Paint Your Rainbow. And I envision this as an I Spy type of interactive bulletin board. Staff will cut out pictures and glue small items grouped by color, and little learners can grab their own handout with a grid with colors labeled on it and instruct them to go find, say, the color red, and then draw in their red grid what they see. By doing it this way, everyone will get their own sheet and their own golf pencil, and no sharing of materials need to happen. This teaches little learners to be observant, to reflect, and use their math and drawing skills as they sort objects by color. I also wanted to do something where I give them a template of a person and they just draw themselves up and I put it along the rainbow as well. I thought that'd be really beautiful. The color clipping idea, staff will create crayon templates with the names of the different colors clearly written on them, and each child will receive a baggie with printouts of different objects and animals on them. And then they can attach them to the paper clips under each crayon. And when they're done, they get to keep the printouts and they can play over and over again as they come into the library. And because the crayons are laminated, these will be easy to be cleaned on a regular basis. And like the first idea I talked about, no sharing of materials will need to happen. Next slide, please. So sorting with Skittles. So staff ahead of time will create the board similar to the one shown and put Skittles in individual bags for kiddos to pick up at the desk. Little learners will be instructed to put their Skittles in the corresponding cups, and then they will take them out when finished. To keep things sanitized, we will wipe down the cups and replace them each night, and the Skittles go home with the kids. Sorry, parents. The paint chip display, which is the bottom left, this is just more of a desk display that shows little learners the different shades of colors and how objects all around them fit into the wondrous color wheel. And staff can switch them out each week to encourage new conversations. The bottom middle one, this found art colorful display. This is another inclusive idea on what constitutes art. Staff and volunteers can create works of colorful art on blank canvases. Found objects can be glued onto each canvas according to color and put up in the library. This is also a great project to encourage adults to do with their little ones at home. And the last one, I borrowed this with permission from the Play to Learn blog, and it's always popular at our library. Staff will create the tubes and background that you see on this bulletin board and put the corresponding colored cups below them. And now to avoid germ sharing, this is where all those broken, unusable crayons come in handy. Have staff or volunteers make individual baggies filled with a handful of crayon pieces and instruct little learners to take them to the board and sort them through the tubes. When finished playing, they can take their crayon pieces home to create their own work of art. Next slide, please. So early childhood sensory fun ideas. Next slide. Fizzy Rainbows. So this was one of the very first virtual STEAM program videos that I did during the summertime for little learners. And it's also one of my favorite. And all you need is baking soda, food coloring, white vinegar, a container to house them all, a measuring cup, and some soap. So pretty much you just mix half a cup of baking soda, some food coloring, a couple tablespoons of dish soap, and a little bit of water, and you mold it into like a little ball. And then you instruct little learners to use a pipette or just a spoon to drip the vinegar to see the chemical reaction that happens. This activity really encourages open-ended conversations and questions, critical thinking skills. You're talking about the scientific method and chemical reactions. You can make hypotheses and observations, and you ask your little learners, you know, what happens when you mix the colors together? What happens when you add more vinegar to it? And I also like to have them draw their predictions as well as the product that happened. And this can also be done virtually or as a grab and go with the materials in a bag or in person, depending on your library safety protocol. Next slide, please. Homemade rainbow bath paint. So this was another virtual program that I've recently done, and all you need is baby shampoo, food coloring, cornstarch, and water. You combine those materials together to make a semi-thick consistency and have fun. Talk with little learners about color mixing, ask them to paint a story and then talk about it with them. And this is easy to adapt virtually, in person, or as a grab and go as well. You would just, you know, put all the different materials in little plastic containers in a bag with instructions. And there you go. And there's a lot of fun bath time stories out there. Next slide, please. So rainbow shaving cream sensory ideas. There's so many wonderful things that your little learner can do with shaving cream. I mean, my son will spend hours just playing with it. You could do engineering. So you can use, instead of like glue or clay, just shaving cream to use with foam blocks and build a cityscape. You can ask them questions about how many blocks will it take to stack before it falls down, or sort the different sizes of the buildings. You can put a thin layer of shaving cream like on a cookie sheet or a flat surface, and then you can teach numbers or their letters or their early phonics or math equations, or just draw beautiful pictures, and it's super easy to clean up. You can, of course, create a sensory bin. Just throw the shaving cream in there, as we all know, and add some plastic animals and maybe some food coloring and spoons and call it an afternoon of fun. The picture that you see on the left is just an art activity that we did at home. You spray down the shaving cream, you do a little drops of the food coloring, and then whatever animal printout that you have, you just turn it face down, and then you lift it up and you trim it, and it just turns into this beautiful animal print. So we did a lion. My son's lion was pink, purple, and blue, and it was gorgeous. And then you can add different elements to it as well. And next slide, please. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about sensory bins because I know all you wonderful youth services librarians do a lot of these. So I just, from dyed rice to squiggly spaghetti to foam pieces, you can just do about anything in regards to rainbow themed sensory bins. As we all know, they're hands-on tools for children to explore their senses. Sensory playtime calms a child. It helps them focus. It encourages conversation. And there's so many wonderful early learning elements such as math skills and problem solving and narrative skills and fine motor skills that go into play. Next slide, please. So early childhood programs. Next slide. So Reggio Emilia is an educational philosophy that I cherish and I use a lot in many of my programs at library and in my home with my own child. One component that I love is an approach of this approach is that the environment's a child's teacher. So I just love exploring nature with little learners, and I try to really incorporate it into all of my programs. So here are some quick ideas that I shared. I'm looking at my time. Look at that. I'm doing okay. All right. The one to the left, rainbow fish. You know, just go out. Maybe you could take a walk outside your library, grab some sticks and feathers. And we have like 40 peacocks that live in my house, or not in my house, outside of my house. And so we have peacock feathers all over the place, succulents, and you can just bend the stick and tie it with a string or a chenille stem and then just add to it and it becomes a beautiful fish. We made a big mobile in the library and just had them up in the children's area. Another great activity, really simple, you fill jars with food coloring and water, and you put it on a windowsill and you lay out a flat sheet of paper and you have crayons, and the kids just color all the different shades that are shining through the jars. Another great one that I thought would be fun is have a new bushel of flowers on the desk every week, and you just put a large piece of paper by it and a bunch of different shades of paint, and you just have the little learners and of course some plastic on the floor, and you just have little learners add to this collaborative art piece, and then you change out the flowers and paint every week. Next slide. Paint Your Heart Out program. This is something that we do a lot at my library. Some ideas that we've shared is we put up a giant drop cloth on a wall and a tarp down below, and we create a story ahead of time with the little ones, and then we paint it together. The other two pictures are just painting with different objects such as foil or string. We even did slinkies one time and the paint went all over. And this program can be done virtually. You can have patrons pick up a canvas with different art supplies in it and maybe have a Zoom painting party that I've seen a lot of you have done this summer, and it could still be really fun. Next slide. So dramatic play is huge in my library, and I would like to do a dramatic play art museum program. So you can have your little ones take a trip to the art museum in your library. It's all about encouraging a child's imagination through the hands of exploration and storytelling. So one of the stations I was envisioning to the left is put up famous paintings and then give a bunch of different stones, and the kids can make mosaics of them. You can even put up a mirror and have them make a mosaic of the materials of themselves. You can have ahead of time them drop off some of their artwork and display it for this program, or they can just create it in the program and you can display it up in the art gallery. You can have a sculpting station with all those odds and ends of art materials that you have, and they can create a sculpture and display it. I've done before, that's my son Grayson down there, and you know those little audio listening devices that you can take your audio tour. We've made them before out of animal cookie boxes and just string and little pom-poms, and they can pretend that they're walking around and listening to the audio tour, which I have little blurbs up that the parents can read. So it's really cute and interactive. Next slide. Musical painting program. Okay, you guys, I'm past the 8 minutes. I'm going to hurry up here. One to the left is musical painting chairs. So I've heard a lot of libraries have done this before. So pretty much same thing as musical chairs. You're walking around a table, music stops, you have a paintbrush and you paint on the canvas. Music starts, you walk again, you stop, you paint on the canvas. And at the end, whatever canvas you stop at, you get to take home and keep. It's a great way to do teamwork and collaboration. And the kids are really proud of what they see. To the right, drum painting. You can use popsicle sticks or paintbrushes, and then just drum to the music. You can teach them all about from rock music to jazz music to Latin music and all the other wonderful types of drum music in between, and play along to the different music. And then another one is freeze dance painting down below. You just take off your socks and shoes and you freeze dance along a long white piece of paper. It's so much fun. Okay, I did it. All righty, my friends, that's it. And I promise I won't try and talk for another 365 days. Okay, thank you for all your time. And here's Elisa Furneaux-Haynes from the Oceanside Public Library with all the great children and family ideas.
Thank you. So hello, I'm Lisa Furneaux-Haynes with the Oceanside Public Library. Next slide. I wanted to show you some pictures of the summer we just completed. No matter what gets thrown at us with the libraries being closed, the pandemic, budget cuts, whatever, like figure out a way to provide services to their communities. All of you librarians are some of the strongest, most creative, energetic, and empathetic people that I know. Now we all hope and we anticipate that our 2021 summer reading program will happen in a traditional way, if any of us can remember what that traditional way was. But even if it isn't, remember, we've got this. We've done this. Throw whatever you want at us. We're going to adapt. Next slide, please. These ideas I've gotten from other schools and libraries throughout the nation. So if you see your library or your school represented, yay. And some of them are from here in Oceanside. And I love when our decorations are have a collaborative element to them and ones that the whole community can work with as well as see themselves in. I can't wait until 2021. My undergraduate degree is in fine art, and being able to just decorate the whole library with art based on different artists, I'm really excited. So the one on the left is our is a Pin the Flower on Frida display. I was thinking like when the kids sign up or when they complete, read a book, they can pin a flower on Frida. The teens can make a bunch of tissue paper flowers ahead of time, or you can even do this with 2D flowers, like die cut flowers out of colorful paper or even just construction paper. Even if we don't have the program in the library again next year, this can be done virtually. I know at our library, as librarians, we were still able to, a few of us at a time, come into the library. So we could have done a display like this and have one of the questions on our summer reading sign-up sheets, what is your favorite color? And then we would create this throughout the summer, and then on our social media, take pictures of it so that the community can see the display growing throughout the summer and have a visual representation of the readers in our community. The middle one, or actually the one on the bottom, upon registering, children and families can vote for their favorite colors. I thought of this one in coordination with the Oliver Jeffers crayons. I love his illustrations and how he does his crayons. Sticky notes, you'll see I love sticky notes. You can have sticky notes of all of the different colors, and then when a child reads a book, or when they register, or when they finish a project, if they do like a scavenger hunt or something like that, they can vote for their favorite color. They can take the coordinating sticky note and place it under that. And again, this is a program that can be done online, can be done virtually, can even set up a virtual board where they can add like a mark under what color. They can vote for the color that they like. The one on top there, I wanted to add to Rachel's color sorting display ideas for young children, and for the older children, add a deconstructing element to it. You can have any of the Lego type blocks make a big creation. Doesn't have to be anything in, it doesn't have to represent anything. It could just be a bunch of blocks. And then as children come in, for each book they read, they get to take a block off and then put it into the color sorting bins. And on the right is some displays in the manner of artist Chuck Close. He's really fascinates me. He has something that's called face blindness. He can't recognize or distinguish facial features or human faces. And I just really think it's so cool that his body of work is faces. Even though that he can't distinguish between them and stuff, all he sees is colors. This one here, again, sticky notes. You can give children sticky notes of a specific color, and I'm going to be referencing the avocado on the bottom. Obviously, like the red or the pink, you can, when they sign up, when they complete a book, you can give them a red sticky note and some red and pink crayons of different values, and have them color on that sticky note. And then over the course of the summer, they could be creating this piece of art. I also want to say this is something that can easily be taken out into the community, like at the community meal sites, out at the schools during the summertime. And kids might not necessarily get to color the sticky notes, but they can make a large sticky note as the cars are driving by. What's your favorite color? Great, we're going to put it here, here, here. Do you like green or red? And kind of construct a piece of art as the cars are coming through to pick up the meals. Next slide, please. So here are some programs and events. The Design a Bookmark program on your left, if you go online, there are lots of libraries that have done come into the library and design a bookmark. But what was so encouraging is there are several libraries now, and I want to say Los Angeles County, that do an online bookmark creation program where you design the bookmark online, send it in, and then they get judged. And I thought it would be fun then, the winners, and this is one that you can do for whole families. So you can have adult winners, teen winners, school age winners, and young children winners, and then reproduce those bookmarks that win. And throughout the year, those can be the bookmarks that the library hands out, as people are always asking for bookmarks. In the middle is kind of like the Add the Hoop program. This one here, my mind just exploded. I could see long trails of these hoops hanging from the ceiling or along all of the bookshelves in the library. As each child or each parent or as each person reads a book, they can add a hoop, or when they complete one of the activities, they can add a hoop. And you can have the hoops coming down in like the rainbow, like a rainbow fall, or the long streams of the hoops, which again, I think that are just adorable. Then the one here on the right, again, sticky notes. I love sticky notes, especially all of the colors. I love sticky notes. You can do sticky note portraits. And I thought this would be a fun one with a scavenger hunt, and have this be part of the scavenger hunt as they're finding things. One of it could be, oh, can you find the window with sticky notes by it? And then the family has to draw a self-portrait, and they can either draw a self-portrait of the family together all on one sticky note, or the separate sticky notes, and kind of create a large display over time with that as well. Next slide, please. With arts and crafts, these are some fun programs that we've done with families. Share the kindness craft. Here by the ocean, we have lots and lots of rocks that are at our disposal. So we like to do rock programs, and we'll have families come in and paint rocks, and they can paint, you know, 2 or 3 different rocks. And then at the end of the program, either they trade rocks with the other people in the program, or they can take the rock and give it to somebody that they know that doesn't have a rock. So that's the sharing the rocks. Now also you can create, if you have an outdoor space, here in Oceanside, we have a nice little outdoor space. You can create a little rock garden of all of these positive affirmations and kindness. In the middle is our decoupage lantern craft. And this is one of those that I thought was so simple that, you know, the parents and the families are going to be like, okay, this is just a little too basic. It was so popular. And it's just having the like mason jar type pieces of glass, or they don't even have to be glass, I guess, that have a lid that can go on them. You decoupage the container, the glass, with different kinds of tissue paper. You do want something that is very thin because you want the light to be able to come out. On the inside of the top part, you just glue down one of the little tea lights that are battery operated. You know, of course, we don't put any live candles or anything in there, but like the little tea lights that are that have the little LED, and then make the lanterns glow. This was really popular with our families. And we did this actually we had a camp out at the library, which was done in an afternoon program, and we did the glow lanterns. The last one over here are the last one are alebrijes. I go on to Michael's online and I order these little wooden ornaments, animal ornaments in bulk, and they're really inexpensive when you order them, like 500 of them at a time. And you think, oh my goodness, 500, but they go so quick. And then we just collect whatever markers we have. And this is one of the projects that we take out into our community a lot. The kids and the parents and the families, the older generations have really enjoyed doing this as much as the little ones. They just take the markers and they color the little animals and make fun little designs and things like that on it. And they make like a 2-dimensional instead of a 3-dimensional alebrije. We've also paired this program with the movie Coco, the Walt Disney movie Coco, and it's been a lot of fun. It gives the kids something to do while they're watching the movie. Next slide, please. Here's just a few ideas. Now, these come straight from the resource guide. Of course, we're all going to promote our summer reading programs to the community and to the schools, but here's some ideas of how to promote to the school. I like the idea of presentation board about the summer reading program, but I thought not only could you do one and send it to the schools for them to put on their websites, but it would be fun to actually make a poster board with fun pictures and things about the summer reading program. And I know here in Oceanside, we're still doing drive-through meals where you come and you drive through to pick up the meals. It would be fun to have big posters like that for the parents to see as they're coming through to pick up their meals, or even as they're coming to drop the children off in the morning or to pick the children up in the afternoon. Here, I know that we take advantage of Peach Jar a lot to send out our flyers to all of the parents in our community. And it's been really successful. So definitely check out Peach Jar. Don't forget your after school enrichment programs, your YMCA, your homeschool groups, and also don't forget your city officials, your housing and rec department, all of those. Advertise through those areas as well, your summer reading programs. I am done now. Next slide. I am Lisa Furneaux-Haynes. What we do is important, and I'm going to hand it over now to teens and Nicole King.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nicole King. I'm a children's supervising librarian at the Campbell Library, which is part of the Santa Clara County Library District, a suburb of San Jose up here in Northern California. I think we're running a little short on time, so I'm going to go kind of quick. So if you have any questions about specific programs or things that I talk about, you can always feel free to email me. I did get a lot of things from the resource guide, and also my office has no doors or walls. So if you hear background noise, I apologize in advance for that. So we can go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. So first, I just went on Pinterest and typed in rainbow, and these are just some of the cool crafts that I saw. I thought making your own glowing bouncy balls was cool. The nail art, you can actually use push pins too. You don't have to use nails. Any sort of paper crafts teens love. I thought the book ends was really cute. The rainbow kind of mobile for me, it's on the lower right hand side. They just used a floral wreath base and cut it in half. So I thought that was cute. And I also love the pencil toppers. Go ahead and next slide. Here's some more. So I don't know about you guys, but tie-dye seems to be like, I can't find a t-shirt that doesn't have tie-dye on it now. Tie-dye or acid wash. But tie-dye is really in right now. So you can use Sharpies. They did Sharpies to make these shoes, mosaics, tile art, some jewelry. You can incorporate the rainbow theme with that, perler beads. And then also to incorporate kind of the diversity theme with the rainbow theme, you can make pronoun pins. Those are made with Shrinky Dinks, but I've seen them with if you have a button maker, you can make them that way as well. Next slide, please. So things are weird right now, and programs are weird, and how you do them, now might be different than how you do them in summer 2021. Some people might be at a stage where they can do in-person programs, where they can be outside, still following social distancing, just follow the rules of your library or county. You can also do a lot of these programs as grab and go programs. One thing that I always appreciate with any sort of grab and go program, especially with teens, is to provide a video tutorial. So you make the video tutorial at your library about how to do the program. And then when they come to pick up the grab and go, they get some sort of link so that they can watch that at their own convenience. They can watch the tutorial, do it with you, or, if they need extra help and they need to rewatch it, they have access to that. Or the other option is maybe your programs, you don't have either an in-person option or a grab and go option. A lot of these craft programs are totally available to do completely virtual. Next slide. Oh, she knew what I was going to say. And these are some programs that I kind of put under the arts for teen programs. Paint Night, another program that works really well in person and outdoors, or you can also do that virtual here at the Campbell Library. Our system has done lots of paint nights virtually. Photography contests and demos, that's another kind of program that lends itself well to any virtual components if you have to do it that way. Similar to, I know we'd previously talked in the last section about bookmark contests. I've also seen a lot of book cover redos, but that is also another way that you can, another program that works really well virtually. You can partner with local museums for virtual exhibits. Amazing Artists is actually inside the resource guide. And that was where you actually featured a weekly teen artist, either on social media or on your website. And then we've talked a lot about Post-it arts, but any sort of collaborative art projects are really good for teens. Next slide, please. Teen programs, and I kind of count these as social programs because teens can get together, but not because they can't. So one idea that we're doing here at the Campbell Library, actually our teen librarian, Rebecca, is called Teen Stream. And I really like this idea because it lets teens express things that they're interested in, and they can stream anything. So the idea is that they're creating content for either your Facebook or your any social media or your website, and it can be anything. It could, some ideas where, how teens can do like a video tutorial about how to put books on hold. You can tie it into the catalog that way. They can, maybe they like to knit, maybe they do a knitting project on video. basically the idea is the teens take ownership of the streaming, and then you just provide the platform to get it out. Teen trivia, teen open mic night. We've done open mic night here at the county library a couple of times. And we just do that through Zoom. It streams to Facebook Live and lives on Facebook. So that's something else that we've done. Virtual book clubs, specifically related to the theme if you want to do graphic novels or LGBTQ+ book titles. And then also teen mental health. So this time is crazy. It's crazy for us. It's crazy. Teen life is crazy anyways without all this stuff going on. So any programs that focus on teen mental health would be a good time. It would be a good time this summer. Next slide, please. Oh, more cooking demos, you know, to kind of go with the theme. You could do Eat the Rainbow, fashion shows, online fashion shows, LGBTQ plus discussion. So an example there is the Youth Space, which is here in Santa Clara County. I've done panels with them before that actually where transgender teens and teens in the LGBTQ community actually share their stories. And that's really powerful. Writing workshops and journaling. And then this is something that we've really done that has really helped with the interaction, because that's what I miss. I don't know about you guys. That's what I miss most about my job, is interacting with the kids and the families and the teens. And I have no idea when that's going to come back. But for all the art projects that we do, we always give them a space to show their artwork. So for us, it's on our website. So if you go to our website, you will see in the kids area, there's an art gallery. We do Lego Club. There's a Lego gallery, so that they can actually, once they've completed their project, they can submit it to us, and then we put it on our website in gallery form. Next slide, please. Oh, and then there's a few, also some programs that can relate to STEM, colorful gems. They can grow crystals, geodes and rock programs. They can make rainbow slime. And I also just, you know, went and looked up science experiments that have to do with rainbows. And there were so many: rainbow milk, a density tower, volcanoes, lava lamps. And these are all things that can be done either in person or virtually. Next slide, please. That's it. So again, my name is Nicole King. Please send me an email if you want more information on this. And then I'm going to pass it over to Charmaine, who's going to be talking about adults.
Thank you, Nicole. My name is Charmaine Mendez from the Moreno Valley Public Library. I'm here to talk about some great adult programming ideas. I'm also speaking on behalf of Judy Cunningham from San Diego Public Library. So the programs I'll be talking about can be adapted for both in person and virtual. Next slide, please. So these are the very many various reasons why it's important to involve adults in summer reading. I won't be able to go through all of them, but often when parents sign up their kids for summer reading, they don't know that there's an option for them as well. So don't assume that they don't want to sign up. It's very possible that they don't know that there's a summer reading option for them too. It's also very important to get the support of adults, because adults are the ones who have a say in local jurisdictions. So it's very important to have their support for the library and to make sure that they keep active and are engaged throughout the summer. Next slide, please. So one great idea would be to contact the local schools, colleges, adult schools, and art guilds. Let them know your summer reading theme and that you would love for them to share their art to decorate the library. So this is a great way to add decoration, brighten up your library, and also a great way to promote local artists as well. If your library is closed next summer, you can always promote the art on social media instead. Next slide, please. So this is an idea that Judy got from the San Diego Museum of Art. It's creating flower arrangements based on famous paintings and sculptures, a way to get inspired by the color scheme. So this would be a nice passive program for adults or a virtual program. Next slide, please. Stained glass art is pretty simple, but has a very beautiful end result. All you need is just the outline of a coloring page, put a glass frame over it and trace the outline of the coloring page with black paint and glue. Let that dry and then color in with the different colors. And in the end, it looks really beautiful. Next slide, please. Another idea is to make art out of needle and thread and paper or string and tacks on a corkboard. There's a paper outline that has a hexagon on it. So pretty much the adults will be using thread to trace the designs and create some beautiful art in the end. Next slide, please. I also came up with the idea of kindness rocks. It's great for all ages. Adults can also leave positive words around the community in random spots, such as a park bench or a grocery shelf. Just simple words that remind people of their self-worth as human beings. This will make a great take-home kit. You can get sticky notes or cardstock and a list of different examples if the adults don't know what to write. Courage cards is also a great idea. You can send encouraging cards to our essential workers, those who are sick, the elderly. It also depends on the local COVID guidelines, so make sure to check with your local hospital or senior center, nursing home to make sure that they can accept cards. DIY note cards kit is also a great, easy idea for a take-home kit. Next slide, please. I highly recommend partnering with your local genealogical society. My library at Moreno Valley this past summer, we partnered with our local genealogical society who did a really great presentation about finding your family members through DNA. It's a great way to partner with them, and the one who partnered with us, she did as a volunteer, so that didn't have to come out of our budget. It is a great way to promote the community and diversity. Our CERC supervisor did these beautiful resource lists about different kinds of ethnicities. For example, the one on the left is resources on researching Central American ancestry. The one on the right is researching Icelandic ancestry. So there's a lot of beautiful information to uncover. Next slide, please. You can also do a paint or sketch and sip night over Zoom or Facebook Live. You can do take-home kits that have some cheap paint palettes from Dollar Tree or any similar store. You can partner with a local artist or art studio to lead the class. Or even better, if you have a staff member who knows how to paint, they can lead the tutorial as well. As a last result, there's also YouTube tutorials that you can go through over Facebook or Zoom. Next slide, please. Another great idea would be DIY natural tie-dye. People can dye all sorts of things, t-shirts, pillowcases, socks. The dye would come from natural sources, fruits, vegetables, herbs. For example, red cabbage creates a really beautiful blue or purple color. Turmeric is great for yellow, and coffee grounds or tea is great for brown. So you can make a take-home kit with instructions, maybe a small item like a washcloth or socks that can be dyed, and a virtual program to go along with it. Next slide, please. For decorations, you can have a backdrop at your library. Adults can take pictures like a little photo booth. You can encourage them to post the pics on social media and tag your library to spread the word about summer reading. Next slide, please. Another great idea for decoration are these oversized flowers inspired by the Planting a Rainbow book. They're made out of tissue or construction paper. You can use yellow or orange tacks on the flowers to make it look like pollen. This could technically be a virtual program and also a great way to decorate the library. Next slide, please. The color wheel is from the resource guide. All you need are embroidery hoops, plastic wrap, window cling clips, or fishing line. And just make sure that the hoops overlap with each other so that people can see how the different colors blend together to make new colors. It's a really unique and very colorful idea. Next slide, please. And that is all. If you have any questions or need more information, feel free to contact Judy Cunningham. Her contact info is on there, or you can email me. My email is on there as well. Next, I'll hand it over to Edwin Rodarte from LA Public Library. Thank you.
Thank you, Charmaine. Hi, everybody. My name is Edwin Rodarte. I am Senior Librarian at the Los Angeles Public Library, and I'll be talking to you a little bit about outreach and the idea of equity and inclusion when you are creating these outreach or when you're thinking about outreach for your library. Next slide. So first of all, I just wanted to share the EDI's definitions from ALA. Equity is defined as fair processes and fair outcomes, but it also means that it recognizes that some groups are disadvantaged and are therefore underrepresented or marginalized in many organizations and institutions, including libraries. So equity therefore means increasing diversity also within our organization so that we can be representative of our communities. Inclusion means the achievement of an environment in which all individuals are treated fairly and respectfully, and that equal access and opportunities are given to all of the resources that we're providing to the public. Next slide. So I'll talk a little bit about just traditional outreach models. In here, I think you are all aware, there's different ways to reach out to our community. The traditional way has always been print. So this is things like, printing out flyers, creating bookmarks, putting up posters, and then maybe ads in your local newspapers or ads in, online as well. Email newsletters or email blasts, and these could be done to just your regular patrons, but also to city departments or other organizations that you have partnerships with. So it's the idea of creating this email blast and sharing that with all of the participants that you had in the past, but also not forgetting about other organizations or even city employees that you work with. And another idea is to include, in your receipts or your due date reminders, just links or information that refers them back to the summer reading program. The third way is doing through partnerships. These are just businesses, community organizations, or city departments that you've established bonds with or partnerships with, and the idea that they would be able to spread out the word for you as well. And then social media. Social media is the utilization of your current social media platforms that you have, whether that is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I don't know, TikTok, to actually share the word out of your different programming and summer reading that you're going to be having at your library. So the idea of creating hashtags maybe for people to follow along or to become involved in different challenges. Sharing the video that was shared here, for example, as a promo in all of your platforms so that people can become engaged with that. And then lastly, it's always also by word of mouth. It's one of the things that we do with some of our Spanish programming is that a bunch of us have pretty big networks of friends. And so just sharing your own programming with friends helps out, or family members. So if you're trying to promote, it's like also just word of mouth by you and your other coworkers, sharing them in your personal social networks or personal friendships. Next slide. So I'll be talking a little about what I call Outreach 2.0, and it's just things to keep in mind. So just keep in mind that outreach is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's very different when you're trying to reach out to different communities. Outreach is more of a process and not in a one-time project. So one thing to keep in mind is that you shouldn't just try to outreach to a new community or a new audience during summer reading. This should be something that you should be doing year round. It's something that you should try to establish partnerships as you go and not just a one-time thing. So think about short and long-term outreach goals and strategies for specific projects or departments and not just for summer reading. And then the goals for those should be continually revisited and their success should be assessed. So to see what you can be changing. Outreach also demands sensitivity to and eagerness to learn about other cultures. So listening skills are the basis for being clear and genuine. Sometimes it's about confronting our own biases and acknowledging the need for help as being part of that process. And so participation in trainings to hone your cultural competency, curiosity about other people's cultures is helpful and drives motivation so that you can actually reach out to those communities. You can, let's see, what's the last one? Not all cultures communicate the same way. So for example, email messaging is not always effective. Well, cultures that are relationship-based, so things more like in-person outreach is probably going to be more successful. Next slide, please. So having language support in your library is something that should be, if you're basically reaching out to a different audience or a different community that has language need. For example, our library, LAPL, has a translations team that actually translates content in Spanish for all of or most of the things that we put out that are system-wide. So these are two examples. One is the summer reading program, the actual guide, and the other one is like our Read Baby Read program. But as you can see, these are translated into multiple languages, not just English and Spanish. We have our summer reading board translated into, I think, I don't know, was it 12 languages last year? And so the idea that language is also, it's probably the first block that people are going to be finding if they cannot find information in another language that they understand. So knowing that if you do have that community, to be able to provide that resource, it will be a lot more helpful for people to participate and become engaged in your program as well. Next slide. Targeted outreach. And so knowing the demographics of your community is important so that you can know what sort of programming or what sort of a community you want to outreach to. So this is just a census map of people that speak Spanish in LA County, for example. And so we can find the areas that have a higher population of Spanish speakers within LA County, and we can concentrate our outreach or our marketing to those Spanish speakers in a different language just at those locations. Next slide. Key partnerships. So thinking about community organizations that you can partner with, take opportunities to build those relationships for organizations that are serving maybe culturally specific groups, so that you can utilize those resources and they can in turn kind of like give that audience the information about your programs. You can follow up with them, and you have to basically establish these relationships over time. One of the things that we've done at LAPL is that we've done a program that's called Read While You Wait, for example. So these are little reading stations that are set up at barbershops throughout the city, so that there's actually books for people to read while they're waiting to get their haircut. So that's maybe an idea. One of the things that I did when I was a teen librarian was that I went to high school classes and I asked to speak to ESL teachers because I wanted to do presentations specifically for ESL students. And so allowing them to know that there was opportunities for them to engage in the library as well. And that was very specifically targeted to those ESL students because I myself was an ESL student. And so I know that there's not necessarily information that makes it all the way through. You may have a partnership with the school themselves, but if you're trying to be more strategic about your targeting, then you might reach those audiences that you have not seen before in your library. And then next slide. Lastly, I just wanted to say something about, embracing technology. I know that we probably all have done this already, but the idea that just because maybe next year we may be able to do in-person programming doesn't mean that we have to leave all of our virtual programming aside. I think that the hybrid model is something that should be, that is going to be happening moving forward. So adapting and ensuring that we have programming that is both in-person and virtual is the way to go. It could also have, a hybrid model is having virtual components to a program. So if you are doing an in-person program or a passive program, then you can invite your users to participate online in a different way. So if you're doing a drawing contest, for example, having those being posted on your social media networks, or if you're having, hashtag threads that you're encouraging people to communicate with. This also would mean like you're having an in-person program and you have the ability to do live streaming with it, then you can have both options so that for those people that were not able to come in person, they would actually be able to log in and see the program online at the same time. And then that has the ability to live on afterwards too, because then you're building content for your social media networks as well, and people can start following you because they know that you're providing that content. One of the things about this, though, is ensuring that the compliance of ADA, because a lot of the times we may not notice it, that, there's people that would want to have the videos or the captioning be available. And a lot of the times that's the kind of like a second nature thing. We don't think about it. So ensuring that our videos that we are uploading to these social media networks have captioning on them so that people can come in, be able to read if they have auditory limitations. So I think that was it for me. Next slide. Yeah, so that's my contact information. Feel free to reach out with any questions that you have. Thank you. And now back to Nicole.
Wow, that was a lot. You guys are all amazing. Yeah, lots to think about this summer. So there's not a single question. Is that real? I mean, this is last chance because, but there's no questions right now, but please, if you have any, just drop them in that Q&A. Also, California State Library's online and remote programming resource database from California Libraries. The link is there. And that database has tons of online and distance-friendly program ideas that have been contributed from by California Public Library staff members everywhere all over the state. So that's a good opportunity if you're looking for some more ideas. Our webinar will be added to the resources section of the Summer at Your Library website, and the link is there. There also will be a follow-up email when it's ready, so keep an eye out for that if you want to rewatch and if you didn't catch all those great ideas, because we were talking fast. So, and then also, please join us. Consider joining our iRead program committee. Contact me because I'm the chair next year. Come. And actually, I think I'm the chair right after this is over, right, Rachel? So yes, please, we're lots of fun. We have a good time. And yeah, we would love to see your input and to see you join our group. And with that, I will just say thank you so much to everybody who came. Feel free to reach out to all of us. You have our email addresses if you have any questions. If you have questions about the committee, like how much time is it going to take, workload, stuff like that, you can always reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer any of those questions. Yeah, I think that's it, right? Okay. So I guess we'll go. Bye.
Bye.
I'm like, I can't end it. Okay.
Thank you everybody for coming today. I truly appreciate your participation, and it was a fantastic presentation, and it will be uploaded as soon as this thing goes through its cycle. I know it might be 3 days before it ends, but anyway, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for participating, and we'll see you next time. Trish?
Trish is like, no.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you. And thanks presenters. Take care.